how many here play games? Like computer games? Okay, let's go around the room. What is your favorite electronic game of all time? You start with here. Of all time. It could be even like Minesweeper because I've played a lot of Minesweeper. Alright? What is your favorite game of all time?
When we were child, we used to play
Mario. Classic game. Okay. Anybody else? Pac-Man, Subway Surfers. I actually worked with the Subway Surfers team when I was at Inmobi. It's pretty cool. Small company in Denmark. They became very rich. They rented out a castle in this place called Aarhus as their office. So that cool. Anybody else?
Just
Candy Crush.
Dragon Slayer.
Dragon Slayer. Severe.
Candy Crush.
Candy Crush. You know, my wife is on some like 3000 level playing Candy Crush. I'm not even kidding. She plays it all the time. Yeah. PUBG. Okay. PUBG. How many people are saying PUBG? Wow. I think PUBG, the great thing is it brought a lot of like non-gamers into like hardcore gaming. People I know who have never gamed in their life made fun of me for gaming, play like 8 hours of PUBG a day. Anyone from the side you want to share? Okay, of course. But any computer games?
COD.
Counter-Strike, COD.
Age of Empires.
Yeah, Age of Empires. Okay. Anybody else from the back? You guys can come up to the front. It's okay, we'll keep this in the okay. Mortal Kombat, I love that. Oh, yes. Fatality. Okay. Any other games? Any console gamers in the house? Console gamers, what's your favorite? Sorry?
PlayStation.
Okay, what game do you? FIFA.
Yeah.
That's the game I played the most. FIFA from 98.
I play a lot of Fortnite.
Fortnite. Okay. So, yeah.
All Pokemon games from Nintendo.
Okay, yeah. Including Go, I think, to that.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. So, the reason I ask is, I think all of us have played some level of electronic gaming, right? And even if you're not a hardcore gamer who's like streaming on Twitch now, everyone's playing like a Temple Run or like a Clash of Clans, whatever. But I've noticed no one mentioned an Alexa skill game. And for good reason. I think this is a field which has severe potential, but it's still it's completely untapped. Right? I think the playing field is wide open. And I'm really hoping that, say, 3 or 5 years from now when I ask this question, someone will say like an Alexa skill or like a game they're playing on Alexa is like one of the games they play the most. And I think there's that much potential. So this is a short session, but Karthik and I are here to talk to you all about building the game on Alexa. We've built a couple of small hacky games, but Karthik's actually worked on a really cool game called Finish the Phrase, which is live on the skill store. You can try it out, it's on Hindi as well, which Karthik built. It's a very fun game. You get famous phrases from English, Hindi, etc. and you have to finish it. And the leaderboards and few other things, so we'll talk a bit about that as well. So, for a lot of people it might be surprising that Amazon's actually in the gaming space. People are like, Amazon shopping, Alexa, etc. But Amazon actually does a bit of tech and other things in the gaming space. I think a lot of you all will be familiar with Twitch. Does anybody use Twitch or has seen things on Twitch? It's a platform for live streaming, and in fact the Alexa team, including Karthik, Greg and myself, we do a lot of streaming on Twitch. We've all set up, in the US they have a very, very fancy studio. We have set up a small studio in a meeting room in our Bangalore office, and we stream on Twitch as well, where we talk about building Alexa, and sometimes we even play games. I don't know if Greg, you were there. So the last week we had an evangelist meetup in Seattle, and we ended up playing this great game called Stop Talking or Everybody Explodes. Has anybody played that game? It's an amazing game, so check it out. It costs like $300 on Steam. It's a bomb defusal game. It's a great party game. So one person's looking at a bomb, the other person has the bomb defusal manual, right? And they can't see the screen, so you have to say, hey, I see 3 wires, I see a number, and the other person helps you defuse the bomb. It's a lot of fun. You should download it. Anyway, Amazon also does things like infrastructure for gaming and things like that, so we'll talk a bit about that. So we'll play a quick video, and I hope it works. We've been having some issues, but let's take a look at this video. It should give you an idea about gaming on voice. So here we go. Didn't work. Okay. Sorry about that.
I think we are having issues.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of video issues. Alright. Alright.
Who was the U.S. president in 1950s?
Eisenhower.
Back there. He's one of our men.
SpongeBob Challenge. Let me ask you again. Are you a woman or a straw? This is Mark. I submit that you answer is SpongeBob Challenge.
Things are combined to make a spork.
Eyes up, Garden. Let's show what we got.
Isn't that cool? So, I think one thing you would have, a takeaway of that video is, apart from the fact that it looks really cool and there are a lot of things you can do, is a lot of those games would have actually seemed familiar to us. Even though that video was made in the US, you would have seen something like a quiz, and we've all played, we've all seen Konvaniga, Karolpati, and things like that. So, and if you really look at it, and all of us, like in India, we come from a culture of a lot of storytelling and voice-based games. I'm sure everyone can say Antakshari. Right? At some level in your family, or you've seen people in your family play, we've all played Antakshari, which, if you think about it, is a completely voice-based game. Everyone's communicating, you're figuring out the song and you're singing it. That's how the game goes. How many here have played book cricket in class? Yeah, most of us. And I've definitely played, spent a lot of time not listening to my teachers playing book cricket. The reason the game was fun, at least for me, was because when we'd roll a 6 or when we'd get a 6, we'd imagine like a Sachin or a Rahul Dravid hitting a 6, or we'd imagine someone getting out. And the games happen in our head, basically. And I think that's what made it fun. And I think voice provides that sort of opportunity that you can really unlock. And like the slide says, voice has sort of always been the game. Right? And it's up to us to really figure out what to do next with it. So we're here to talk a little bit about how to think for building a game for voice, because it's slightly different. If you notice, there are a lot of sessions today about how designing for voice is so different from designing for the screen. And I think it goes a little more for gaming. And of course, you would have seen this slide a lot today, but one of the reasons that we're here and we can talk about voice is the fact that speech recognition technology is at a level which is close to a level of human accuracy. As humans, we can gauge about 94 to 96% of speech that's thrown at us. And earlier, we were in the 50 to the 80% range, which wasn't nearly enough for speech recognition to be a thing. But now we are at a stage where it's about 95% and it's increasing, so speech and voice interfaces are a possibility now. Of course, we firmly believe at Amazon that voice represents the next major disruption in computing, which means that you will be using Alexa not just in your home, but we have this idea of Alexa everywhere. We're using Alexa at work, on the go, and in your home. So Karthik will talk a bit about some popular voice games and how they thought about the ideation, including ones in India, and then we'll talk about what you need to think of when building a voice game. Karthik?
Thank you, Sohan. So I'm going to be talking about games, and like I said, I'm really passionate about gaming in the sense that I play a lot of games, but at the same time I also like to build a lot of games, right? And one of the games that I built is something called as Finish the Face, and I'll see if we can get the device to test it out as well. So some of the games that are on Alexa, so there's something called as Jeopardy, right? If you know Jeopardy. Okay, so Jeopardy is this cool game, quiz show in the US where the questions are the answers, right? So the quiz host is going to give you an answer like he's the 45th president of United States, right? And the contestant has to say who is Donald Trump, right? Something like that. Getting my point? So that is what Jeopardy does. So a really, really cool game. And I met the developers who worked on this, and they told me that they need to update the skill on a daily basis. This is like a hugely popular skill in the US, right? We have a skill called as Yes Sire, which basically is kind of a role play game where you are a person who has in a kingdom, and it asks you very specific question. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? You have to say yes or no, and just by depending on what you answer, the game moves forward, right? And there's rock, paper, scissors classic, like, Alexa chooses a option for you and you win or lose. And then there's magic door. The magic door is a really, really cool skill, right? You can say, Alexa, open the magic door, right? And what it does is it opens a magic door, and then you go through that path, and then there are 3 paths, right? You can either go to the forest, or you can go through the canal, or you can go to someplace else, and then it lets you take that decision, right? So the point is, like, these are like the first voice-first games that we have seen coming in from the US. From India, we've had some equally good share of games, right? And so who is that person? Gabbar Singh, right? So this is the Impossible Bollywood Movie Quiz, right? And if you try out the quiz, it's a very, very good game. It keeps on asking you questions about Bollywood. Okay, very simple, but the questions are like, with similar answers, like you might have given them in exams, like you don't know if A is correct or B is correct, right? So almost like those kind of responses. One of the really, and this is what I'll be talking about in the closing keynote, but really, really making, contextual and country-specific games, right? How many of you have played Chidiya Ud? Right? Almost all of us, right? So Chidiya Ud, Kauwa Ud, and all those things. So there is this developer, Sri Chaitanya, who built this skill that we launched for Hindi, right? And it has been hugely popular with a lot of people. Now there are kids who go to Alexa and they say, Alexa, Chidiya Ud, hello, and for Chidiya Ud, they play Chidiya Ud with the Alexa skill, right? So I have heard from some of my friends who have kids like that. They go to Alexa and they start conversing, and it's almost like a friend for their kid, right? So those are the kind of games that we have been seeing in India. There are voice paired games. These are something that works on eco buttons, like you saw the eco buttons, right? This is not available in India right now. This is a game called as Button Bandits, right? And there are a couple of games where all you need to do is the buttons, eco buttons, they act as your buzzers, right? Just like a buzzer in a quiz show. So Alexa asks a question, and whoever presses the button first, they get to answer it, right? And it can be used for different purposes as well. So Button Bandits is about who can press the button faster, or stuff like that, right? So you can use buttons for that as well. So that is available in the US. Voice assistant games. So when you are playing games like Fortnite or Call of Duty, right? And there are sometimes these tips and tricks that you don't know how to handle, right? Where Alexa, how do I recharge my gun, or how do I reload my gun, or stuff like that. So Call of Duty has this assistant skill where you can say, Alexa, ask Call of Duty how to reload my gun, or Alexa, ask Fortnite tips, where do I land today, right? And Alexa will take the Fortnite tip skill, will randomly pick up a location for you, and you can land at that position with your friends, right? So stuff like that you can do with voice assistant games, right? And so in all of this concepts, what's happening is, voice is extending the player's agency, right? And what's happening is Alexa is saying, the users are speaking to Alexa, right? And they are playing the game while they are playing with Alexa. Now, one of the other things that it is also doing is voice is connecting players globally, okay? And there's this really good game called as Song Mania, which connects users from all over the world and lets them compete against each other, okay? So, that is possible with the Alexa skills. And this is one of the most important things. Voice is bringing analog to the digital realm. So earlier we used to play Ludo, and we used to have like a dice to roll, right? Nowadays when my wife and I start to play Monopoly or something like that, we just ask Alexa to roll a dice for us, right? Or even Chidiya Ud. Earlier you used to play Chidiya with your fingers, but now that analog controls have come over to the digital realm, right? And that's where we are seeing a lot of changes happening. And of course, voice is allowing for gaming on the go, right? And you are driving, right? And you want to play a game, you can play with Alexa, right? Of course, while driving properly, right? So you can do that on gaming on the go. You can play it on your phone, And Greg was talking about Jeff was talking about ecobuds. You can play a game while you have an earbuds in your. So basically, wherever you are traveling, you can play games anywhere, right? Earlier, you can play a game only, only when maybe you had a time and indulgence to look into the screen, and only then you could play. But with voice, you can just play anywhere. And what we are seeing is voice is like inviting deeper engagement into games, right? And it necessarily does not has to be something like a voice paired game or a voice only game. But like say for example, you are playing Fortnite, right? And you have a Fortnite assistant game. You can always ask Alexa to help you with the Fortnite game, and it just invites deeper engagement. And with a lot of APIs that we have released, like reminders API, notifications API, what it does is it notifies the user like, hey, you are last on the leaderboard today. How about you pep up your game and stuff like that, and brings the user back into the game, right? So that is something that we do with that we have seen voice do in general. And in general, the reason why we believe voice is the next big frontier in games is that there's a lot of future investments that have been happening in ambient technology, right? Computers. There has been a lot of future investments, and the categories of games that we have been seeing, right? There are today, earlier 5-10 years back, there was nothing like a Fortnite or a PUBG, right? But today everyone's playing games, right? So the games, the audience that are getting into games has become more and more, right? Earlier, it was a very limited set. Either you could play it on your computer or on your very expensive console. But today, even a 4,000 rupees mobile phone, you can play a Candy Crush, right? And as more voice assistants become common, right? It's just going to get make it more engaging, right? And customers are excited about these games. That's what we have been seeing. If you go to the Amazon India Skills Store, you will see the Impossible Bollywood Movie Quiz, the Chidi Out games, right? And the Ganga Quest, and the games like this, always on the top. So a lot of people are playing these games, right? So almost think of what are the games that are being, that are really working good, and how you can build a game that can capture the Indian audience in general. And last but not the least, it's like you don't have to buy like different copies of the game, and that's the common trend that we have been seeing in gaming today, right? I buy Fortnite on my PS4, I can play it on my iPad, I can play it on somewhere, and there are these collectibles that we call it, right? If I buy a new pack, that pack stays with me for every, on all devices, right? So it's a buy once and enjoy everywhere kind of an experience. So having said that, what we'll be doing is we'll be talking a bit about game design, right? We have set the full premise for why build game on voice, hopefully by now. We'll now talk a bit about game design, right? And this is where Sohan and I will talk about a couple of, based on our feedback and our learnings, we'll talk a bit about what kind of games and how you can build really good games. What I'm going to try is I'm going to try a game called as Finish the Phrase, and it's on Alexa. You can go and check it out. In the Hindi store, it's called Muhavre Ka Khel, right? So basically, what it does is it gives you 5 phrases every day, and you have to finish those phrases. And if you finish it, you rank on the leaderboard. If you keep coming to the skill again and again, you keep unlocking premium packs, right? It has some leaderboards and everything. So I'm just going to show you the game first, and then we'll walk through the design, okay? Let me just see if this works or not. Open, finish the phrase.
You've disabled finish the phrase in the past. Do you want to enable it again?
Yes.
Okay, here's finish the phrase. Welcome to Finish the Phrase. Every day, I will tell you 5 popular phrases and you get to finish them. If you come back and play 3 days in a row, you will unlock a new set of premium questions. Premium packs include Harry Potter quotes, superhero quotes, historical figures quotes, and more.
Context of the game, how to play the game, what are the details and deals and everything. Yeah, I hope. And all of you could see the screen. The screen had some design and everything. Okay, so let's try the game again. Alexa, Open, finish the phrase.
Welcome back to Finish the Phrase. It's good to have you back. Are you ready to answer today's questions?
Yes.
Alright, let's play. Here is your first question. For 20 points. If at first you don't succeed,
Try again.
yes, that's it. Moving on to your next question. For 40 points. Conscience is the nest where?
I don't know.
I'll skip that question. The correct answer was conscience is the nest where all good is hatched. Here is the next one. For 20 points. Where the tongue slips it.
Jumps.
That's not it. The correct answer was where the tongue slips it speaks the truth. You lost 5 points. Moving on to your next question. For 10 points. Give the goal.
Shoulder.
You got it. Here is your final question. For 10 points. Pride comes before.
Fall.
Pride comes before.
Fall.
You are right. You answered 3 out of 5 questions correctly. For a score of 35 points. You got a new ranking. You are currently ranked 785th on the weekly leaderboard. Ask me any time for your weekly leaderboard standing. Don't forget to come back tomorrow to continue your daily streak to unlock special question packs. Thanks for playing Finish the Phrase.
Okay, so did you guys enjoy that experience, right? This was a game that I built with a team of essays in the US and all over the world, and we built this skill and this is live on the skill store. So we will talk about these designs and when you want to take over from there.
So keep that experience in mind because we are going through six basically game design principles, and we sort of correlate it to what you saw or what you experienced now. We'll also give other examples that we have seen, but essentially these are, we think, the 6 key design principles to keep in mind while building a game. And have it, you can take your photos. So the first and foremost, I think this goes without saying, we are at the Alexa conference, is to think voice first. Now there is a tendency, of course, to say, hey, it's a game, we need visual feedback, which is great, there was visual feedback in this skill as well, but it's imperative to think voice first. The visuals, the sound, all of it sort of complements the experience of the voice first game itself. Here are some examples. Yeah, so, sorry, think voice first. Now, if you have visuals, it's great. We saw some visuals in the Finish the Phrase skill, but it's always important that the voice, the visuals complement the voice. So here are some examples of how it would look on, this is just normal skill within an app that we're using visuals, and this is on the Excel show where a skill has visuals. Now, for the second one, basically you want to think of simple commands because it's voice first, especially if you're building for kids. You don't want something very, very complex that the user has to say. And there are a couple of things you can essentially do, like, for example, in the Yes I skill. Yes I is very simple, it's an immersive game where you get to choose your own adventure. So the story unfolds and you get choices to make, and based on the choices you make, the story keeps unfolding differently. And it's a very popular game mechanic on Alexa. Anybody seen Bandersnatch on Netflix? Few of you, yeah? Bandersnatch pretty great. Where check it out if you have Netflix. Look for Bandersnatch. It's a show where you sort of get to decide the different endings. So there are multiple different branches the episode can go in. It's an episode of Black Mirror, and you get choices throughout the TV show, which is very interactive. It's a new way of showing a TV show. So interactive fiction it's called, and Yes I is an example of a skill that does the same thing. So a story starts, okay, you're doing something, you go, there are two doors, which door would you choose, and so on, and the story unfolds differently. And in fact, in India, Chota Bheem, I'm sure everyone's heard of Chota Bheem, they have a very popular skill which uses a similar game mechanic. And recently I interviewed the CEO of the company for like a blog post and for a video that they made. And he said it was so popular with kids because one kid would figure one ending, the other kid would figure another ending, then they'd go to school the next day and say, hey, this was how my story ended, how did yours end? And they'd try and get that other ending as well. So it's a very interesting mechanic. And what SI did was they focused solely on creating that environment and atmosphere. So the commands they gave were very simple, almost as simple as yes, no. So there will be an option that okay, you walk up to a door, it's locked, do you choose to break the lock? As simple as saying yes or no. Alright, and that really causes, the users are saying something, so it's a very low friction sort of environment to really play that game, where you're getting immersed into that environment that's being created. So we also have a high-low game as a template on our GitHub, so go to github.com/Alexa. Anyone can build this high-low game skill, it's very easy. And pretty much all the commands are, is it any particular number, followed by yes or no. But it's still, a reasonably engaging game, more to teach you how to build a game. But again, notice how the voice commands themselves are very simple. Also, make sure that your slot and slot types have this yes or no or different number, right? And that's what slots do. So don't expect extremely complicated slots. As you saw in Finish the Phrase, it was typically just one word or two words that would finish the phrase. Don't expect the users to say all of it because they might fumble, or Alexa has like a 7-second timeout, so they might think and then not finish it. There'll be an error. So even Finish the Phrase, it was one or two words, so a user could say it quickly and it could tell you if you were right or wrong. Also, make sure, in fact, someone asked me this today, try to not have like things like last name and email ID as slot types. Now the reason is if my email ID was say karthik8@data9.co.in or sohan1@gmail.com, even as a human, it's impossible to say if that's ONE, WON or the number 1, alright? Because they all sound the same. And after that, people have special characters or maybe some complicated email IDs. Try not asking things like this via voice. It's a good practice. So we say either use the customer profile API or use account linking or some other way to get email ID. This just leads to friction. It's not a simple voice command that you can actually expect. So like I said, there is either the customer profile API and the account linking that you can use. So here's an example of the Pizza Hut skill where the first time you log in, the Ola skill does this as well. The first time you log in, it says, hey, link your account on the Alexa app. So you open the app, you enter your details. The details of your account go to your skill, they are linked, and it's a one-time thing. That's it. You don't have to come back to the app ever again. Right? Yeah, like I said, it requires more, but it's fairly simple to set up as well. There also is a customer information API. Now, you can use this to get things like a device address or a customer profile, which is name, email, and phone number, or the settings of the device like time zone and distance and temperature, etc. So, all of these things require explicit permission from the customer. So you can't just get it, but you can ask the customer, they can give it to you, your API will get all this information. You can even use this to personalize the skill. So once you get the customer profile, you know their name. So next time you can be like, hi Karthik, welcome back. And that provides such a great experience to the skill, to the user when they use the skill. Alright, so for the next two, Karthik.
Okay, so I think we'll talk about all of these learnings in the terms of the context of the skill. So you saw first of all voice first, right? And that's what the skill is, right? Even if it did not have a screen. So if you see that on the last page it says, okay, you have got 3 out of 5 answers correct. But on the page itself it used to show like, okay, you got this question correct, you got these 2 questions wrong, and these 3 questions right, right? So that is what you show up on the screen. But for Alexa to actually speak all of that out, right, would be so long. So that's why it did not do that, but it showed up on the screen. And like Sohan said, simple commands, right? Not 1 or 2 words, 3 words max. recognize new user. So when I open the skill for the first time, it said something like, welcome to the skill, right? Here's an overview of the skill. Here are the premium packs that you have available. Come in daily to the skill, right? Stuff like that. And that's when I said stop, right? And then I said, okay, I said open again. So that's how the skill works. So whenever a new user comes to your skill, right? Take a bit of.
Thank you, Sohan and Karthik, for such a fun session on voice first games on Alexa. I request Greg to give the more news.